Hi everyone, welcome back to Desert Isle Forge. My name is Tim and this is forging lesson number 1. In this lesson we're going to talk about the most basic forging technique, which is drawing or drawing out. When you're using this technique, we're essentially reducing the circumference of the material while increasing the length. There are two common uses for this technique. One is forging a point, another one is forging a taper. Let me demonstrate them to you now. To demonstrate forging a point, I'm going to use a 3/8 by 3/8 square stock and a 2-pound hammer, which is appropriate for this task. So when you're forging a point, you got to bring your material to forging temperature. And to keep the point centered, we're going to tilt the material a little bit, lift the end up, and then going to strike with the hammer, also tilt it. The other thing we have to do is to keep everything centered is to turn our material 90 degrees every time we strike, back and forth. Like so. Also, after a while, you're going to turn it all the way around 180 degrees. That will aid you also to keep everything centered, because the anvil and the hammer will affect the material differently. Normally, the hammer leaves a larger impact than the anvil, and that would lead to an uncentered point. So here's a closer look of the same method, forging a point. We're going to do the turn. We're going to do 90 degrees first, one turn per hit. And then I'm going to go all the way 360, also one hit per turn. This is very important to keep everything centered, and this is what you have to really practice. Practice and practice until you get really smooth and good at it. And as we end, you can do some double hits to just smooth out the surface, and then you have a nice point. Now I'm forging at a lower temperature just for the video's sake. Normally the forging temperature is between 1500 to 2200 Fahrenheit or 800 to 1200 Celsius. Because of the video with glow, I have to forge at the lower ranges of the temperature, so it gets cold very quickly. I recommend you to heat it up around 2000 Fahrenheit or 1000 degrees Celsius in order to have a good result. Forging a point is the most basic technique that you have to practice a lot. You have to build muscle memory to have proper hammer control and also material manipulation. You have to learn the turning 90 degrees and 300 degrees. It's very, very, very important to practice this a lot. To demonstrate forging a taper, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch by 1 inch flat bar and a 1/2 inch by 3/4 flat bar. I'm also using a 3-pound hammer, which is appropriate for these sizes of materials. To forge a taper, we bring our materials to forging temperature and bring it over to the outside edge of the anvil and do the same tilt when we do forge a point. Also tilt our hammer and start forging. We're going to turn the material 180 degrees versus 90 degrees and then 90 degrees to flatten it out. Another important thing is to start at the end of the material when doing a taper, because this way will prevent the end of the material folding over. Also, when you're forging a long taper and the specific length taper, you can control the length of it this way. So you just work your way down the length of the material. To increase the speed and efficiency of your forging, you have to utilize the curved surface of your anvil. This will speed up your drawing significantly. This technique works with both forging a point and forging a taper. To forge a taper successfully, you have to remember to start at the end and work your way down the length of the material. Also, you have to remember to turn 180 degrees to keep the taper centered from two sides, then turn 90 degrees to flatten the material. Also, if you like to increase the speed of your stretch and taper, you have to utilize the curved surface of the anvil because material stretches more between curved surfaces. I'm going to show you a small project that requires very basic skill set. If you practice enough what I taught you in this lesson, you will be able to do it yourself. We will use a 1/2-inch solid round stock and a 3-pound hammer for this project. In this little project, we're going to create a picket with a leaf-shaped spear end. We're going to forge a point first, and then we flatten it, creating that leaf shape. So we're going on the outside of our anvil and just forging a little point, turning the material, remembering all the important things when you do it, to tilt the material and tilt your hammer to keep everything centered. If you cannot do it with one heat, you can reheat the material. Normally, if I heat it to high forging temperature, I should do it in one heat, but again, for this video, I'm using less heat. So we forge our taper. We're going to place it on the other side of the anvil and place the edge of the anvil about 1/2 inch away from the end of the taper, and just strike down on it and flattening it and shaping it to a leaf shape. That's where my philosophy of forging comes in handy, because now you need to control and tilt the hammer sideways in order to be able to do this easily. Once you're happy with the shape, try to make it centered by, the only way you can make this centered is to flatten it equally on both sides. And then if it's a little bit tilted, we can just shape it up. That's it. So after you finish forging your pickets, you can cut them and arrange them in a fashion to form a small fence panel like this one. I used a 1/4 inch by 1 inch flat bar and drilled the holes at 6-inch center to form the rails. And you can do a flat top, or I decided to do an arch top, cutting different length of each picket. So this demonstrates how can you do a small project like this with a very basic skill set and be successful and inspired. Now I showed you something you can practice. I would like to encourage you to send me pictures of your progress. I'm going to create a playlist showcasing your work to inspire others and build community. So this concludes our first forging lesson. I hope you learned something new and useful and got inspired to start your own journey becoming a blacksmith. If you like to support my channel, please subscribe, like, share, and comment below. If you like to see my work, please visit my website www.desertoutforge.com. Thanks for watching and see you next time.